car has a reputation for being very stiff and uncomfortable on the street. It's true that the suspension's quite firm. Right now it's in comfort mode, but I don't think it's uncomfortable. This car has what's in the US I think called Dynamic Plus package, and in Canada called AMG Track package. It does include stiffer springs and stiffer dampers, and some people don't like that. For me, I'm fine with it, and it's worth it for the high-speed handling. The transmission on this car is very smooth shifting at these city speeds. Nothing like the dual clutches of old days. You can barely feel the jerk of it shifting at these city speeds. It starts smoothly, upshifts, downshifts smoothly. The only jerkiness you can get is sometimes, like right now, when slowing down, when it downshifts from, say, second gear into first, you can feel a slight jerk. Nothing bad, but you can tell there is a mechanical transmission doing its thing there. And the shifts are reasonably responsive. I mean, in comfort mode, it's geared to maximize fuel economy, but it's such a powerful and torquey engine that even in comfort mode, you have all the acceleration you need on the street. My one criticism for comfort of this car is road noise. So you can hear, I'm just going over not that bad pavement, and you do hear quite a bit of tire roar. Partly this is the fault of the tires. They're Michelin Pilot Super Sports that are close to the end of their life. There isn't much tread depth left on them, so that'll make them louder than usual. With say fresh Pilot Sport 4S, it should be a little quieter, but it's not a quiet cruiser the way my CL63 is. It's a very different car from the CL. It does have most of the modern safety features. My car wasn't optioned with adaptive cruise, but it was available on them. I think it's standard in some of the newer cars. As you hear on the highway on-ramp, has tremendous grip, tremendous confidence the car gives you. As expected. I mean, that's what the car is for. I flip it into a slightly sportier mode. Accelerates effortlessly. I went to what, 1/3 throttle there, maybe a quarter throttle. This car is so powerful that in normal driving you barely use a fraction of what it can do. At low speeds or when stopped in comfort mode, the engine is reasonably quiet. It's it sounds nice, I think. Often I keep the sports exhaust turned off because you get pretty nice tone in regular mode without being obnoxiously loud. The transmission downshifts pretty responsively. It's not like some cars where you put your foot down, you wait, downshifts. Here, you put your foot down pretty quickly, it gets into the right gear. The only exception is that if you're cruising along like this and then you floor it, then it does sometimes take a moment to get into the optimal gear. So I can try that right now. So I'm cruising along, floor it, and so you see it. With the dual clutch, you can skip some gears, but it did the initial downshift, but then it had to do 2 more downshifts before it gets to the right gear. Now, one way you can avoid this, so if you go into a sportier mode like Sport Plus or Race, it'll already be in a lower gear. And the other aspect is that if you want to suddenly accelerate, you should either manually downshift to the optimal gear then accelerate, or you could at least do the trick of holding down a downshift paddle while keeping the accelerator slightly pressed. It'll downshift, then you can floor it. So what that does is it'll make it jump directly to the optimal gear. So I can demonstrate that actually. So right now I'm in 7th gear. I hold the pedal, so it jumped straight to 4th gear there. Aside from the tire noise, this is a pretty good road trip car. So it's both a sports car as well as a Grand Tourer. Where this car does differ from, say, smaller cars like what Porsche builds, if you were doing something like autocross, where you have a relatively tight course and you need to be very aware of the corners of the car, it's harder with this, with the bonnet reaching out way ahead of you. It's a little bit harder to track the corners. But in high-speed handling, this car is amazing and just as good or better than any non-GT Porsche I've driven. The agility at high speed, so if I go in the sharp suspension mode, like the ability to dodge potholes with precision, like it's amazing how it can do that, and the car stays utterly composed. I've never driven any other car that feels this amazingly sharp and controlled. So this is a good opportunity to show you some of the car's acceleration capabilities. So I'm locked in 2nd gear. Whoa! Wow, that's fast. Since I suspect you enjoyed the last pull I did, I'm going to floor it once more. I'm going at a low speed right now, just so I have some room to accelerate without blowing way over the speed limit, but alright, let's go. Wow. In race mode, I feel this car is even more ferocious. It's just amazing. And in race mode, the shift strategy is it's always going to be in an ideal gear. When you're slowing down, it's always downshifting the car to keep it in the power band. It's amazing when you actually want to drive in a spirited manner. So you see here we're coming up to a 50 speed limit zone. So when I slow down, see, it downshifted to keep the car in the power band. It's not like the wimpy fuel-saving strategies that are applied by most cars, even in their sportier modes. Once you're out of a town, you want to unleash the beast. You stick it in Sport Plus, or particularly in race mode, and it's mind-blowing the way this car can accelerate. And not just accelerate, but also brake and steer and dodge potholes and things of that nature. So here we have a sudden increase to speed limit. Flipped it back into race mode and floor it. And the braking is just as amazing. What you heard, the boom, was a little tripod I had sitting in the car fly a little bit. It's ready to accelerate right away when you put your foot down when in race mode. In race mode it's all out and it's going to impress you. And Another nice thing with race mode is if you wanted to accelerate out of the blue, the easiest way to get it in the right gear is just flick it into race mode, and then the moment you put your foot down, it's already in the right gear and you'll get optimal acceleration, and it'll shift at just the right time. Once again, I'm just cruising around in race mode. I'm not driving in an aggressive manner or anything, but the second I put my foot down, downshifts into the perfect gear right away. It tries to be at least slightly smart about its gear choice, but if it senses you're better off downshifting, it does downshift, and it downshifts right away. I suspect it keeps the next lower gear preloaded, so that if you want to accelerate, it just does it right away. And because it's always staying in pretty close to the optimal gear, it never needs to downshift much. So you see I'm going through these roundabouts, and in the auto shift strategy, it's keeping the car in the power band. So in sports exhaust mode, you get these crackles too. It's an effect of the anti-lag system. And speaking of the anti-lag system, this engine has almost zero turbo lag. You put your foot down and it goes right away. Amazing. Here, this corner is off camber, and I have a limited runoff, so I don't want to go too quick through it. So whenever I let off the throttle, you hear those crackles. Roundabout coming up here, so you can hear how the race mode shift program will again downshift as we come into the roundabout and then get out of it. Wow, wow. I don't have a camera in my face here, but yeah, this is a fun car. The interior on the AMG GT is really nice in general. It's definitely a step above what you'd find, say, in any Porsche 911 or Boxsters. The steering wheel is quite nice. It's all wrapped in Alcantara. I think Mercedes calls it Dynamica. It's probably another brand, but same type of material. Has these nice shift paddles. They're made of aluminum here. Also nice, proper aluminum center section down there. It's comfortable in hand, feels good, perfect thickness to it. Paddles have a nice, satisfying feel to them as well. The center section here, it feels nice in hand, but it's not actually leather. It's, I think, some sort of vinyl, but it doesn't bother me much. The door panels, it's all nice, high quality leather here, very smooth and good. Nice stitching on the door panels as well. Nice carbon trim, Actual metal center console here, very nice knurled buttons with satisfying feel to them. Nice buttons here in addition to these knobs. Um, Beautiful seats. They have all this diamond quilted stitching and high quality leather. They're reasonably comfortable, though they're not quite as comfortable as, say, Porsche Sport Seats Plus. These seats are deeper and firmer in comparison. They're sort of halfway in between, say, Porsche's bucket seats and Porsche Sport Seats Plus, but they're good seats. The vents are quite pretty too here, and they have this carbon trim on them. The vents themselves, I think these actually feel like they're actually some aluminum part. Um, these outer rings might actually be plastic, judging from their heat conductivity, though. Nevertheless, they're pretty high quality. These knobs here, they feel slightly cheap when you actually touch them compared to how they look. I think these are actually plastic parts, but still pretty decent. The navigation system still looks reasonably modern. They've updated it for 2020 model year. This is a 2017, but it's pretty smooth. And you can zoom in and out, see animations, it's responsive. Pretty good. In the center here you have a little multifunction display. Lots of features in it. You get to see things like boost, oil temperature, and transmission temperature, G meter, and there's a whole bunch of other measurements as well, the configurations. So you have a lap timer as well. All the usual performance gizmos. And yeah, it's just very nice interior that's fitting of the classic car.